I have grave concerns in Dundee, Scotland. This is a little audio overdub with some wind effects. But it's appropriate audio because this is the Fisherman cemetery. And it is right on the shore, right on the coast, as Dundee is. There's a firth of some kind. I think it's a firth of Tay. I'll have to look that up. But it's a lot of seagulls, a lot of wind there. And this is a very small graveyard. I'm recording this after the fact just because I was with a friend who didn't want to appear or have their voice on there. So we weren't really saying anything, we were just talking to each other. And there was plenty of wind. Looks like we got our hand in there. I don't think that's too much of a violation. And actually my preview here is a bit small, so it's a little hard for me to see. I'm going to zoom in on it if I can. But, there was not a tremendous amount of symbols in this cemetery in general. Winged skull there. It's about as extensive as it got, with a few names. I say that, of course, as we're looking at the stones that did have the most symbols on them, crossbones, things like that. I was looking at that upside down. But these are basically graves of fishermen who perished over the years, either from the sea itself or just life. But it's a quaint little fisherman's graveyard. Here we can see the whole thing is just in between some houses on the shore walk. And it's 19th century, of course. So Dundee is a small city north of Edinburgh, kind of in between Edinburgh and Aberdeen. And there is a much larger graveyard coming up. Excuse me. Coming up later. That's in the center of town. This is really in East Dundee. And the thing about this graveyard that's kind of unique is you have to get the key from a local bar, and I do show that bar. So you give them a 10, I was going to say euro, excuse me, a 10-pound deposit, and they give you the key to the gate of the graveyard, and then you have access. So you bring the key back, you get your 10 pounds. Doesn't cost anything, really. Unless for some reason you wanted to keep the key. I don't know why you would. Yeah, so we get some great lichen here. Being on the shore as it is, these stones are all kind of worn or covered in mossy lichen, patina, rust in some cases, just because of the iron. Here you can barely read the year of 1823 or 25. Another little cherub, little winged cherub, but not much to read there. See if I can zoom in on that even more. Not really, not without it getting cropped from my view. 1825. This was the case for most stones in Scotland. You're going to go to any kind of a cemetery, it tends to be a 19th century affair. You want older than that, you've got to go inside the churches. Looks like a fish symbol on there. But there we've got something from the 1700s. Pretty small stone, though. Could also be a crown, base of a crown. Certainly took a good look at that one. Must have been chatting about it. I mean, there's just not much left here. This is like an archaeological dig. I don't know that I can recommend Dundee. It's also very close to St. Andrews, which we're also going to see in this footage. St. Andrews, of course, is the home of golf. Here we've got 1809. And it's a beautiful university town. It's about a half an hour south of Dundee. Dundee is an old industrial town. Apparently their big thing was jute, what we would call burlap, manufacturing burlap sacks for all of the material and supplies that they would get in shipping. Suffer little children, come unto me. So the jute industry is long since ended, and I'm not really sure what's left of Dundee as far as what they produce or what's going on there. Probably fishing still, probably anything related to the North Sea. Aberdeen is a big oil town. I wouldn't be surprised if they're kind of living off the residuals of that. That's kind of an interesting stone there. Tells a little story, but doesn't. The ears are cut off. So yeah, what does Dundee have now? It's a community. It's a place to live. But as far as for the visitor, I'm not really sure. 1793, we're getting a bit of an older one here. There is a new Victorian Albert Museum there. There's also an old ship on the shore that's pretty cool. But I think mostly it's anybody passing through is just on their way to Aberdeen or on their way to St. Andrews. But it's a nice enough little town. If you like especially that kind of post-industrial quality. It reminds me of post-industrial towns in New England. It's got old, beautiful buildings downtown that are largely vacant, and it has a lot of that preservation by default, just because nobody's come in there and really developed it. 1841 in the Roman numerals. I see 1839 for John Gale on the stone. Or John Gall. want to say it took about an hour by train to get from Edinburgh to Dundee. And it was a pretty pleasant ride, and you get to go over a pretty long train bridge, which apparently is the second bridge. The first one was involved in a disaster where some ship hit the bridge and knocked the train going over into the water and killed a lot of people. But all in all, I mean, I haven't been to Glasgow, but Edinburgh is not a huge town. It's not a huge city. It has a lot to offer. It's a beautiful city, and it's exceptional in its layout and its content. But these days it's all Harry Potter tourism and a little bit of Dan Brown tourism, which puts those places on the map to some degree for the contemporary generations. But I don't really like when pop culture takes over actual culture. Robert Lorimer, 1825. Those places are important without Harry Potter, etc. But that's been a thing for a long time, For example, Notre Dame, which is being renovated now since the fire. That was in disrepair for a long time, and it was Victor Hugo's Hunchback of Notre Dame novel that brought a lot of attention back to that cathedral and helped it to get preserved and restored into the late 19th and 20th century. So sometimes these pop culture things can bring just the right amount of attention to something so that it's perpetuated. But when you're in the thick of it, like we are, and really we're not, I guess, we're probably in the late 90s and early 2000s, the Harry Potter tourism must have been off the charts for Edinburgh. So here we are now, a good 25 years after the fact, and it's still a major draw in Edinburgh. But, outside of that, it's got the castle, it's got a beautiful downtown, it's got some amazing buildings, it's got nice neighborhoods, it's got the university, it's got a lot of history, it's got the Royal Mile, it's got the, I can't remember the name of the castle now at the end of the Royal Mile. But, and when I was there, King Charles was visiting Holyrood, or Holyrood. It's got a lot to offer. But it's not massive, it's not some major city. There might be 1 million people there, I don't even think that many. I have to look it up, it's probably in the hundreds of thousands. Probably 1 million in the summer, it swells with tourists, but that's about it. So, and Dundee is 10 times smaller by comparison. Aberdeen is a very small city, which is great for visiting, very manageable. 1830s here for Philip Gibbs Dundee. Never sure when somebody has the same last name as the town, if they're from the family of the founders or what's going on there. So, Scotland's a beautiful country, but it doesn't have, again, Glasgow's going to be the biggest city. Outside of that, these places are all very manageable. There's no great metropolis. Again, I haven't been to Glasgow, but I don't think it's London in terms of scale. So, that's fine. I mean, Scotland is pretty far north as it goes. So, you wouldn't expect a lot up there in terms of population. But an incredible rugged landscape. Beautiful coastline. This is actually the first kind of voiceover I've done. I usually just leave the original audio in, but In the interest of protecting privacy, I'm going to do that. So even though this isn't the most exciting cemetery, and I'm just kind of the camera's just sort of hanging there while I'm talking to my friend, so I'm not always filming the most exciting stuff here. But you get a chance to see a small cemetery that you'd probably never visit unless you had a specific reason to go to Dundee. So I think we are reaching the end of this one, and getting ready to exit, and I'm going to walk down the street and show the bar where you get the key. I don't remember the name of it myself. So that is definitely the kind of thing I wouldn't have known about except for the locals telling me. But again, this is in, I'm trying to remember the name of the little village now, Broughty Ferry, really, which is sort of the east of downtown Dundee. And it has its own little train station. So I think the better stones, or the more intriguing landscape, is going to be more at the end of this video. So here we go, finally exiting. And you can see, that's not St. Andrews, but that's the peninsula that's across the Firth, where St. Andrews is. So it was quite windy anyway, just as well that I'm recording over. So my friend's locking up the gate. The weather changes ridiculously fast in Scotland. It's like Florida. And people do love to talk about the weather, but it will rain like crazy for 10 minutes and then clear out. But I have to say, the entire time I was there, it was windy. And this was in July, early July. Most aggressive seagulls I've ever come across are in Scotland in general. I don't know why. So now I am pointing east, walking back towards the bar/restaurant. Walking on this little shore road, just so you can see that it's about 2 blocks from the graveyard, quite close. Little seawall, dock. There's a firehouse there on the right. Coast Guard house, something like that. Maybe both. Oh, quaint little fishing village. Here I am coming up to the bar now. It's on the left. Those folks are looking inside, deciding if they want to have lunch there. Bell's Lane. What is the name of this place? Something Inn. The Ship Inn. Well, there you go. That makes sense. Public bar. So now I'm in downtown Dundee. And this is one of those cemeteries that the royalty of the period finally set aside after industrialization and the population boom. They decided they needed to set some land aside for a formal cemetery. And unfortunately, I showed up about 10 minutes before it was closing. And again, I'm with people who don't really want to be on camera. And we just got a quick look at the place. I don't think I saw too many specific stones. But you get a sense of it. Has that nice old Victorian quality. You can see some of the buildings in downtown Dundee as well, beyond the walls of the cemetery. Some great trees in there as well. I guess I'm getting my bearings with this. Probably getting told some story. William Gavin, 1834. Get a real close look at that one. James Doig, D-O-I-G. This one's a bit chaotic. Here we go, finally getting a look at some stones. Nice writing on that one. Again, not a lot of symbols. Just writing straightforward to the point. Birth, death, husband, wife, children, year. Andrew Thompson, 1795, shoemaker. A lot of early 19th century here. Check out that awesome building across the way. That's what I mean about sort of past its prime old industrial town. Fantastic architecture in that town that is well preserved and just needs some investment. And hopefully they keep it and they don't destroy their heritage, because they still get a lot of it and it's fantastic. Getting a good look at that tree. James Wright, 1830 maybe. A lot of writing on that one. There, a little symbol that had something to do with the guilds. 1792. Getting some older ones there. 1850. $1808. Mostly in good shape, though. That one broken one sort of reminded me that most of them weren't broken. But again, I think this being a seaside town, that lends itself to a lot of deterioration and lichen and moss. Just a lot of moisture. And somewhat harsh climate. I don't think it snows up there too often, but you've got year-round wind and rain. Nice skull and crossbones there. 50th year. A winged cherub. My own shadow. Nice golden hour, actually. Beautiful color here. Skull. This is coming to an end here in the next minute or so, and it's going to end with the ruins of St. Andrew's Cathedral. So looks like it was a massive cathedral. And I have to say, I don't think I've been in the ruins of such a big cathedral. It's really impressive. And it has a churchyard, which isn't that fantastic. It's more the ruins of the cathedral. But that is one of the consequences, or say victims, but it's a result of the Reformation and the intolerance towards the Catholic Church at the time. Casualties is the word I was looking for. So it's unfortunate, because it really looks like it was an amazing cathedral, but it's also something to be said for the ruins and a very dramatic landscape that they occupy on the shore as they are. And again, it's going to be wind blown. But that one, I've got the original audio. I don't know that I say too much there, but this little overdub is coming to an end.
Who's this guy? I'm gonna take my hat off for that.
Oh, golfer.
Yeah. Well, read the thing.
I don't golf. I'm not some golf.
Can't check your coffee.